Hey, everybody. Welcome to the BitBite Podcast. This is Hans.
And this is Rick.
And happy white paper anniversary.
Yeah, not quite, like you said, not quite a birthday. But Satoshi put out the white paper 13 years ago today.
Yeah, today, October 31st. And what was that? That would have been 2008. 2008?
Well, this is about the time, or shortly after the financial meltdown, right? In 2008?
Yeah.
That timing seems to make sense to me, but, you know, when you get older, your memory kind of starts to fade a little bit.
No, yeah, you're right. It would have been 2008 that the white paper would have been released. 13 years ago, 2008, October 31st, 2008. The email was dropped to the server, basically introducing the Bitcoin white paper, the peer-to-peer electronic cash system. So it's a monumental day, and we do apologize. We meant to try and do some recording earlier this week, but we were unable to get some things to work.
Yep, my computer died, and then I almost killed another one.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Watch out for drivers.
I guess if I'm going to mess with that 11 rec unit, I'm going to have to use my old laptop exclusively. It's a Windows 8 laptop, too, so...
Really?
That's
pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. Oh, so we also had... I mean, there were a couple of things that took place today. One was, obviously, the birthday. We also had our monthly close and weekly close. And
not to mention Halloween.
And Halloween. And we also, this is the first monthly close above 60,000 that Bitcoin's ever gotten in the history.
And what was it at last month?
Last month we had a 40% rise. So that was it 47 last month or 43 last month? So
that's even a pretty hefty gain from there.
Yeah. No, we saw a nice return that took place this month. I mean, it was a 47% increase over last month. It was higher when we recorded our first episode and we hit that all-time high, but since then we pulled back a little bit, and we actually did not hit Plan B's suggested floor for the month-end close. Now, depending on how you want to look at that, we can break that up a few different ways, but we did cross over the 63,000 mark that he had listed for the month, but we didn't close at that level. So I don't know if that completely invalidates him now, or, I mean, he was pretty close. I think we closed at 61, so.
No, it's not too far off, especially as wild as the price swings. I mean, honestly, in the beginning of October, if you would have said it would have been closing, above 60, you would probably go, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Right?
No, and it's funny because, I think the Bitcoin space in general, we always tend to get bored of the price action really quick because we are used to such wild swings where you're like, I don't know if it's going to do what you guys think it's going to do. I mean, mainly because we cross those thresholds so quick. I mean, a 40% rise, if we do a 40% rise from here for the month of November, that's what, 80,000 or something like that?
Yeah. Well, that's the crazy thing, just going through the wild rides. I mean, I think it's what drives so many new people in and out. And how many people have just lost their shirts, dipping their toe into Bitcoin, and then just running immediately?
Well, and I think the problem is everybody buys into the hype, right? They buy into the FOMO cycle whenever it's already rising and everybody else is joining the bandwagon. That's when they buy in, and that's usually they're buying at the top.
Exactly. And then when the bloodletting starts, it just wipes a lot of people out.
It pours.
That's right.
Yeah.
And and then the whales just freaking gobble all that up.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's what they're notorious for. And that's the funny thing is that the whales really are they really are like whales. I mean, they get all those people just in that feeding frenzy, and then they just munch them, and they just eat their lunch, basically. I mean, it's gone. They take away all their liquidity that they put in.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. But I mean, that's also, I mean, that's part of the market. I mean, that's where you get your cycles from. And that's something I think you and I had talked about. We always want to keep people in mind is that this isn't going to go on forever.
No, no. I mean, it's hard to think back when it was like 20,000 and then it lost all the way back down to 3,000.
Yeah.
And now we're at 60,000. So, I mean, but, we're at 60,000 the second time. The first time it went almost, didn't it basically dip below 30,000 here a few months ago?
Yeah. I want to say it was back in, because we kind of started to change the trend in July. So it was probably maybe June, beginning of July. I think we dipped all the way down to like 28, 29.
Yep. So, I mean, it's just something to always keep in mind. If you buy and hold on to Bitcoin, its trajectory is going up. But if you're looking short term, it is all over the damn place.
Yeah, it is. It is a ride and a half. And I mean, I think that's just something I think everybody needs to be prepared for. If you're getting into this market and you just think, oh, it's easy, all you got to do is just buy it. No, there's going to be some nail biting experiences. You are going to ride the roller coaster. But like you said, I mean, you just got to make sure and hold on.
Absolutely.
There's nobody that's bought. If you held for at least 4 years, you're not in some significant profit. Even if you held for a little bit over a year at this point, you're in pretty significant profit. So, yeah,
Yep.
always something to keep in mind. But I had talked to you about this a little while ago, and I don't know how familiar are you with stock to flow.
I'm somewhat familiar with it, but I think it would be a good thing to go over, and like you said, the Plan B models and whatever else you want to talk about.
Yeah, and I mean, I find this kind of fascinating, mainly because it's based off. I mean, obviously, he's taking somewhat of the human equation out of it. He's basically just looking at the basic stock to flow of Bitcoin, like as a commodity, like how you would rate it. So Plan B, just kind of give you a little introduction to who he is. He's a Dutch trader with a degree in economics and law, and in his role, he did basically a lot of quantitative analysis, and he used a lot of statistical modeling and certain trends, and correlations in order to better understand the price movement of assets and make future predictions based on the parameters with confidence from an institutional asset management perspective. Now, he started to take a look at the white paper for Bitcoin in 2013, but he didn't post his model until 2019. He said, basically, I was always looking for fundamental models like a cash flow model or any option pricing model or statistical economic model that works with every day. But for Bitcoin, there weren't any yet. I mean, because it was a new asset class.
Yeah.
And that was basically for him. He was like, well, that's logical. It's brand new. There's nothing else out there yet. So on the 22nd of March, 2019, Plan B published an article on Medium called The Modeling Bitcoin Value with Scarcity. This was his first model, and in the following year, he updated it. In 2019, he started off by saying that Bitcoin is the first limited digital object the world has ever seen. And I think that's the important part of Bitcoin that people have to remember. And I know you and I have discussed that before, too. Anytime we deal with anything digital, go ahead.
Well, yeah. Just go ahead and explain that.
Oh, yeah. Basically, anytime, like if you send an email or anything else, all you're doing is sending a copy. The original stays on your computer. And Bitcoin was the first time we ever saw that solved. So,
Yep. Well, that's kind of the issue with music, right? I mean, once the MP3 came out, then the record companies were screwed because they could just make infinite copies of that song.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Napster days and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. Whereas this is the first thing where they're tracking, the digital files, and they're actually showing who owns what of those digital files, which is a first in the digital realm.
Yeah. Yeah, we've never had anything like that in the digital age. And that's, I guess, basically the big aha moment for Bitcoin and to really understand Bitcoin and the actual technology behind it. Because, yeah, when you brace it down to brass tacks, I mean, Bitcoin really is just kind of a ledger, but it's the Bitcoin network itself that gives it its power. So basically, with the stock to flow, it can basically, whenever you're looking at stock to flow, what it basically means is that if you look at something like gold, gold has a stock to flow model of 62. And what that means is that it takes 62 years of production at current rates to be able to equal the stockpile that we currently have. Silver is the second behind it, which is at 22. So he was wanting to get something like that for Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is a little bit of a different beast because as you increase demand, you cannot increase production. When you do,
it becomes scarcer over time as well, right?
Correct, yeah. So, and when you try to increase production, what happens is Bitcoin has a difficulty adjustment that goes into play. So as you see what they call hash rate, which is the power to produce Bitcoin, as you see that increase, the difficulty increases to correspond with that, right? Mm-hmm. So it makes it you can't kind of game the system and be like, well, we're just going to throw hashing power at it. It'll work for a limited time, approximately every 2 weeks, and then those blocks get harder and harder to do. So it self-regulates in that sense. So basically, after the 2020 halving, he predicted that Bitcoin was going to be around $1 trillion, which translates to Bitcoin being about $55,000. And then he released that with his first paper. And the thing that was interesting in the article was he said people kept asking, where's that money going to come from for that $1 trillion? And he said basically that money's going to come from silver, from gold, from other countries with negative interest rates, Europe, Japan, possibly countries with predatory governments. He mentions Venezuela, China, Iran, Turkey, billionaires and millionaires trying to hedge against the quantitative easing, trying to do that hedge against that, and institutional investors discovering the best performing asset for the last 10 years. And that was in March 2019 that he was saying that, was that he saw us around this time hitting that $1 trillion market cap, which we have done. So then he went back and he revamped the stock to flow, where he started to include the price points of gold and silver within it. And I think basically what that came out to was that he wanted to look at Bitcoin has changed, I want to say, forms over the past, 10 years, 11 years now, 12 years almost, where what he was talking about is, in the early days, Bitcoin was not even $1 million market cap. And it was pure speculation. Just like you can have water change from ice to steam, a gas, a solid, or a liquid, right? Bitcoin has gone through phases as well. Once Bitcoin got to dollar parity, that became a new phase for Bitcoin. When it got up to $1,200 and it approached the ounce of gold price, it reached gold parity and changed the narrative from payments to e-gold, became the digital gold at that point. And now we're hitting that billion transactions a second and $100 billion market cap. And now it's $1 trillion market cap. Now we're becoming the institutional hedge and sovereign wealth hedge. So basically, at the end of the day, Plan B believes that we are going to hit a price of $288,000 this cycle, according to his stock to flow models. And I think what he found early on was that Bitcoin was kind of in between gold and silver whenever he did the initial stock to flow, but he hadn't completely factored in the scarcity aspect of it and the halving that would take place. So basically, at this point, he had ranked it at a 25.1, which put it above silver and below gold. And I think now it's looking at a stock to flow under his new stock X portfolio price at 58.3, because it's still getting produced, but that production is getting lower and lower every time. So I thought that was super interesting in a way to kind of think about Bitcoin in that regard.
Well, what does his model also forecast?
So if you continue to go off his forecast, so there's a few different things, right? Like his basement model was basically saying that we had, and he nailed the past 3 months pretty much right on the head. I think he had said 47,000, then we're going to pull back down to 43,000. This month we were supposed to close at 63,000. Next month we're supposed to close at 98,000. So basically November, end of November. And then that's going to shoot us on into, I think the worst case scenario for him for December month end close is 130,000. But his model also shows 255,000 for this cycle. Is that what I just said?
As a possibility.
As a possibility. Or 288,000, I'm sorry. Is what he shows for this cycle. Now, some people say that's low. Some people say that's high. And now, like I said, he's getting a lot of controversy, I guess, or we'll see tomorrow what the controversy is going to be, because we did not hit 63,000 for the month end close for October. We were a couple thousand short.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a couple thousand short, but it's not too bad.
No, that's pretty close.
That's pretty close. I mean, maybe if you're looking at his model, definitely go on the low side, I think. But honestly, if you would have said back in January, when the price was really taking off February, we thought we were going to probably see 100,000 by now. Yeah,
I think I was notorious for saying, I figured we were going to be at 90,000 by September.
Yep.
I think I'd said that a few times with, some of the great guys that we mess around with, that we do, that are all investors in a way. Because I thought at this point, I didn't expect the mini bear market that we got.
Yep.
And that's basically what happened. It was that we did have a little bear market. So, but we'll see what this month brings.
Well, that's the other thing too, is, with all the money printing and the devaluation of the dollar, inflation, just going to the grocery store, getting a hold of basic products, like you said, you couldn't find a tire here recently for your vehicle.
Yeah.
You had to ship it.
Yep.
From Colorado Springs. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And this world there's a lot of topsy-turvy stuff going on. And, when people, I've said it for the longest time that our economy is like Wile E. Coyote, the Roadrunner, and they just run off the cliff and they'd keep running after the Roadrunner, and then he'd look down and then he'd start to fall. It's like at some point here soon, we're going to look down and we're going to start to fall, because this shit can't keep going on forever.
No.
Pardon my French.
No, I agree. I just made my mortgage payment, right? And with the new mortgage payment system that we have or whatever, it estimates, your house value and those types of things. It's increased almost another $20,000 in a month.
On what they think the value of your house is.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
In a month it did that. And I'm like, that is just insane.
Well, I was telling you in the previous episode that housing prices in certain markets jumped 30% in July.
Yeah.
On national average in July, it was 20%.
Yeah.
And so, and then the next month was probably another 20% on that. This is insane. We've never seen anything like this.
No, not at all.
Materials jumping 5 to 10% a month. We are starting the hyperinflation right now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we've been underway for a while, but it's starting to be noticeable. And the media was calling it transitory inflation for a while. And now they've even given up on that line. They know it's here to stay. Or they're not trying to hide that it's here to stay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think that's all we've got for this episode. Did you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
I think that covers it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening in. And can you give them some relevant links?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you want to contact us, you can email us at contact@thebitbytepodcast.com. And we're trying to get some other social media and stuff like that set up. And then, of course, you can take our RSS feed from our website, which is www.thebitbytepodcast.com. You can drop it into your favorite podcast browser. We're trying to get on more servers and stuff like that set up, but we just have not had a whole lot of time to get that done. And hopefully we'll have some more episodes coming out for you guys this week.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for listening, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you have any comments, subjects, anything else you want to talk about within the crypto space or Bitcoin especially, just let us know. Thank you.